Coming up on this edition of Carolina News, the Gamecocks defeated the Clemson Tigers this weekend. Find out what this means for the future of Gamecock football.
Plus, the South Carolina Department of Education is planning to raise pay to get teachers back in the classroom.
And more veterans are going back to school. Find out how they are handling the transition from service to student.
Carolina News starts now.
Hello and welcome to Carolina News. I'm Ashley Listrom.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Lawson Merrill.
Well, Lawson, it is Cyber Monday, and I have been thinking about those online deals all today.
Yeah, Ashley, with this year's high prices, I've definitely been doing a lot of early holiday shopping. Our reporter Chloë Mungo is live in the Vista right now to tell us more about how inflation is impacting Cyber Monday.
That's right, guys. I'm live in the Vista, and after a record-breaking Black Friday, experts are expecting Cyber Monday to do pretty much the same thing, but many are wondering how much inflation is actually going to impact those numbers. Black Friday sales hit a whopping $9.12 billion this year, but not in the most traditional way. With numbers so high, they're record-breaking, but for some local businesses, Black Friday was not as busy as anticipated.
This year we kind of took a bit of a hit because the Clemson-Carolina game was in Clemson this year. So our traffic was down about 50%.
Starting as early as Thursday, shoppers spent around $5 billion. On Saturday and Sunday, shoppers spent $9.5 billion. Experts are expecting Cyber Monday to grow by more than 5% from last year, with sales exceeding $11 billion. Department of Retailing senior instructor Karen Edwards is expecting an all-time high.
So we're looking at somewhere around $950 billion. And if we hit that, it will be an all-time high.
Many Americans are having to dip into their savings accounts this holiday season.
The record sales that we're expecting are not just inflationary. It's people wanting to get out there, get back to normal, have a good holiday experience.
Edwards feels this is causing many consumers to be much more selective with their purchases this year, especially as the average spending for shoppers is continuing to increase.
The average consumer, though, will spend about $835 on holiday gifts this year. That is an all-time high.
And because of this, wallets might not be stretching so much this year, but holiday sales are expected to increase by up to 8%. And that's according to the National Retail Federation. Now, a gift that many are going to switch to this year is gift cards, just because they simply help you stick to a safe budget. In the Vista, for Carolina News, I'm Chloë Mungo.
Thank you, Joey. Now, inflation is a constant holiday hurdle that has affected food, holiday airfare, and gas prices. And now Americans are pining for lower Christmas tree prices. Last year, the average cost of a real tree was about $70. And now consumers can expect to pay around $80 to $100, according to Consumer Reports. Like other crops, the cost of fuel, seeds, and labor is making these tree prices go up. Now, yesterday marked the busiest day at the U.S. airports since the start of the COVID pandemic. About 2.6 million people were screened at Transportation Security Administration checkpoints. That's the most since December of 2019. Unfortunately, passengers experienced widespread delays due to bad weather conditions.
Yeah, well, lucky for us, Ashley, weather in the Midlands has been pretty moderate.
Yeah, Lawson, I had to take my jacket off today as I stepped outside, and that's not too bad for late November. So let's head over to Max in the Kennedy Greenhouse Center to see how the rest of the week will be. Max?
Yeah, guys, it has definitely warmed up a bit since the beginning of last week. It's sitting at the mid-60s right here in Columbia. But stay tuned for later in the show when I'm going to give you guys your full forecast for the rest of the week.
Thanks, Max. While inflation continues raising prices, Gas prices in the Palmetto State actually dropped 8.6 cents last week, according to Gas Buddy. This brings the state's average price per gallon to $3.09. Prices have dropped 14.2 cents from a month ago. Gas Buddy analysts said it's possible that the average price could fall under $3 a gallon by Christmas, making holiday travel merrier after a costly year at the pump. So a Main Street construction project set to lessen traffic and increase safety on campus has been in the works since 2017. Our reporter Jake Arnold has more.
Construction is coming to Main Street. The 5-lane road stretching from Pendleton to Blossom will undergo changes sponsored by USC, the City of Columbia, Richland County, the Federal Highway Administration, and the South Carolina Department of Transportation. Pete Poore, the Director of Communications for the SCDOT, says that the changes will have multiple purposes.
Well, it's a twofold plan. One is to improve the aesthetic look of Main Street, South Main Street, from Pendleton Street down to Blossom Street. And probably number one of the 2 points is to improve safety.
Students who frequent the intersections at Main will see changes in how they commute to class.
They'll just have to kind of adapt a little bit while construction's going on, just like if you lived in those dorms across the street, your walking pattern will probably be a little different, but it's adaptation is the key word.
Although the construction is mostly occurring on ground owned by the university, spokesperson Kobe Paget says the school doesn't have much of a say over the project.
With the Department of Transportation, they are overseeing this project. Yes, the university has contributed funds to it, but this is really them running it. We will provide information on any effects to campus.
Behind me, Main Street currently sits 5 lanes wide. Eventually, it will be reduced to 2 lanes with a raised median in the center. This design will improve pedestrian safety around the road. Construction is expected to begin in the spring of 2023 and will last until 2024. In Columbia, Jake Arnold, Carolina News.
The project is expected to cost over $23 million, with construction starting just south of the State House grounds.
Columbia is still buzzing from the big win in Death Valley this past weekend. After defeating Clemson for the first time since 2013, the Gamecocks returned home to a cheering crowd. When the team arrived home, chants of Beamer Ball and Spencer Rattler erupted from the fans. The fans flooded 5 Points and campus to celebrate USC's big win. And our reporter Kendall Smith was at the game and has more on how Shane Beamer is shaping up the future and culture of the Gamecock football program.
South Carolina was alive in Death Valley on Saturday, with head coach Shane Beamer and his team earning a statement win over Clemson, and praise from fans like Jackson Purcell that have waited almost a decade for a win over the Tigers.
I think I lost my voice the entire weekend just screaming. It was awesome.
The victory is Beamer's second top 10 win in 2 weeks, and with it being just his second year at Carolina, his quick success has earned buy-in from alumni, fans, and students like junior Jack Looney.
Shane Beamer is a great man. Love him, love everything about him, love his whole family.
And Wes Mitchell, a football and recruiting insider at Gamecock Central, says Saturday's win wasn't just huge for current morale, but it set the tone for the future of South Carolina football.
Just the perception of beating Clemson, it gives kind of the idea that South Carolina is a program on the rise.
Wins like that don't come easy, though, and building program culture doesn't come without work.
Now, what fans see are big wins happen in big-time stadiums like Williams-Brice right behind me, but they don't see where the magic really happens. And that's right here at the Long Family Football Operations Center, where Shane Beamer and his staff are working hard to make sure South Carolina didn't just beat Clemson, but they're keeping those wins rolling for seasons to come.
But Mitchell says Beamer has got the support he needs, because there's no better way to endear yourself to the fans than by beating Clemson.
I think with Shane Beamer, it's more like, this is our guy. Like, I think he's one of us is something that Carolina fans probably feel.
So while Clemson might be all in, South Carolina is bought in.
I think he's the GOAT. He's probably the greatest coach to ever coach college football. He is amazing. I love Beamer Ball.
Reporting for Carolina News in Columbia, I'm Kendall Smith.
Now, the victory over Clemson brings the Gamecocks to 8 wins on the season, and South Carolina will wait this Sunday to find out where they will play their bowl and who it will be against. But Ashley, breaking a 7-game losing streak is definitely something to be proud of, and I have to say, I was celebrating myself.
That's right, Lawson, and later in the show, our very own Jackie Labrizzi will cover those highlights from that exciting game.
But coming up next on Carolina News,
the South Carolina Department of Education is raising teacher pay to fill vacancies in the classroom. Stay with us to find out more.